find that I've done wrong, yes.
Alderman Montello?
You don't have to, but if you do.
Alderman Gartner?
I didn't put who presented on I did on the top half once for the public hearing, and I didn't for the.
We're going to call the meeting to order. Take the roll, please.
Okay, I'll
Very long.
Take the roll, please.
Alderman Kittle?
Here.
Alderman Breeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Here.
Alderman Gartner?
Here.
Alderman Volkert?
Here.
Alderman Montello?
Here.
Mayor Zakowski?
Here.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Have a motion to adopt the agenda.
So move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Public comments? All right, thank you very much. Consent agenda, motion to approve.
I make the motion to approve.
Is there a second? Got to speak into the mic, please, Ron.
I'll second it.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Resolutions. Resolution 042402, Arbor Day Proclamation. Do I hear a motion to approve the Arbor Day Proclamation?
Pete, I'll mark all of those as approved as part of the consent agenda.
Want that separate?
It does, that one doesn't need to be, no.
All right.
Thank you.
Continuing business, authorization to solicit bids, Public Works and Utilities Facility renovations.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. As at our work session, as well as at our Utility Commission and Public Works Committee meetings recently, we've discussed the facility improvements to the Public Works and Utilities campus. So this would include a cold storage structure for Public Works, and then combination of combining the water shop and with the electric shop. So the Utility Commission and Public Works Committee have reviewed the plans for those specific components, and we would be seeking authorization this evening to solicit competitive bids for construction. Those will have to come back to this body later on, early this summer. But otherwise, happy to answer any questions, but otherwise we'd be looking just to proceed with solicitation of bids for construction.
Is there a motion?
I'm going to offer a motion that we authorize the Utility Commission, I think that's who, and Public Works, to go ahead and solicit bids. I guess it's just that we're going to solicit bids for that project up there on the north side.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? A roll call vote? Take the roll, please.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Breeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Gartner?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
7.2, Whispering Hills Disc Golf Shelter.
At our regular March meeting, the council discussed the construction of a shelter at the disc golf course. This is in the northwest limits of the city. This item was previously discussed by the park board. They approved the location for the shelter. Typically, public construction valued at over $25,000 would be subject to competitive bidding, and that's by state statute. However, municipalities, by adoption of ordinance or resolution, can allow staff to construct it instead. At March's meeting, the council decided to solicit bids to at least see what those costs would be if a contractor were to do this as compared to staff. And so included in your packet, we had the bid deadline was this past Thursday. There were 3 quotes received. The low bid was from Jamin Peterson Building Services in the total amount of $46,000. The high bid was from QRS Construction, just under $76,000. So quite a bit of range just within those 3. If the council would like for the Public Works to construct the shelter, the estimated costs for the labor, hardware, and concrete work would be $13,500. In terms of staff time, we estimate it would take about 120 hours. So the concrete work itself, if staff were to do it in-house, the concrete work would have to be done by local contractor. Staff would do the actual building. Now, it's not something that we typically do on a day-to-day basis, but it is something that we have the ability to do. It may not be as fast as if a professional contractor who does it every day would do it. And I would say, you know, there's also just the caveat that there are other projects and things, so that if the council does want staff to build it, it's not that we're breaking ground tomorrow on it. It obviously has to fit in the context of other projects and priorities over the spring and summer months. So we would certainly make an effort to get the project done if the council would like to go down that route. There's about $25,000 remaining in donations that have been received and are held by the city in the Parkland Trust Fund that could be used towards the construction cost and other improvements yet out at the site. So happy to answer any questions. Just want to kind of highlight some of the main points, but if anyone has questions, happy to give you more information.
No, you gave a number. Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm trying to understand how much money is left and what we got. So the low bid is 46,000, and you said we have 20-some thousand that's still available?
In donations.
And
yep.
so does that mean the actual cost of the building would be 26,000 then?
So
that the
if
city would have to spend on this?
If the council wanted to, let's say, award the bid to the low bidder, J.N.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yeah, that's what I want. Yeah.
This project is not has not been included in our capital plan for this year.
Yep.
So there have to be discussion as where those remaining funds would come, because the amount in donations wouldn't cover that full amount. So is that other funds that are unrestricted in the Parkland Trust Fund? Is it fund reserves from the city? The intention was that the disc golf donations would cover all of the costs for the project.
So if the city was to build it, you're saying about 5,000 and then another 13 to 23,000, so that's 28,000?
So the cost for the lumber and hardware is about $8,500. The concrete work is about $5,000. That's just from one quote from a local business. So that's where you get that $13,500. The value of the city labor, we estimate about 120 hours. That's roughly $40 an hour in terms of staff time. So that's where you get about that $5,000, and would be the valuation of that staff labor, not including costs or value of using equipment and things like that. But just to show what that would be in a dollar representation.
If we had
This
the
is,
city.
go on, excuse me.
Oh, Jim, go ahead. You've got the floor.
I was just gonna say that there's actually about 14,000 left in the fund. The rest of that money is committed to the designer of the signs, about $4,500 there. And also there's a concrete going around the practice basket. That actually is coming out of there too. I think that's approximately $4,500 or $5,000. So right now in the fund, there was $125,000 when we started. Right now, there's only about around $14,000 to $15,000 actually left in the disc golf fund.
So I think, Mayor, that's problematic. Even if we authorize city staff to build it, and just, it's time and materials, but we have an estimate right now of $18,000. So you're saying you do not have enough money to even pay that?
Well, we have the money for the materials. That's not a problem. The other thing is, at the park board meeting on February 28th, this was brought up, and the park board and the resolution there, or the vote, was that the city would do in-kind labor and the rest of the money would come out of the money raised, and the park board approved that on February 28th.
But you understand, Mayor, the park board doesn't direct the city budget.
I agree, yeah.
It's
They don't.
part of the Parkland Trust Fund.
Well, no, what he's talking about is money not coming out of Parkland Trust Fund dollars. So I guess if what you're saying, Craig, is that the park board approved this, relative to the comment that he just made, that you would cover the cost beyond anything that he has in his money that's been raised for the disc golf, which he says is about $14,000 is left right now.
And I thought there was about 25 left in the money that Jim had raised.
So, but is it your feeling that,
I would leave about 10.
yeah, so did the park board authorize to spend other monies out of the park board budget for this?
Out of the trust
Yes,
fund?
yes.
We haven't really talked about it.
Okay. So I think that, Mr. Mayor, I'm all prepared to reject these bids and authorize staff to construct that shelter as long as we get multiple quotes for the concrete, because that is going to be done by an outside source, and that all materials and staff time will be charged to the disc golf donations, and that the project then is also done at the time discretion of the Public Works Department, based on what their schedule is. So I'm prepared to offer that as a motion. It's problematic, though, you don't have enough money to do, and again, that's time and material, so it may be more than 18. I don't know if it's going to be less, but it could be more than $18,000. And if you don't have adequate funds, I don't know how that's going to happen.
Jim, I have a
got
question
the-
for you. Jim, I have a question for you. You say that you committed money to a sign and something else, which is using up some of the 25,000 left over from the
Correct.
donations? Was that approved by the park board?
Yes. The signs that were approved, they're gonna be going
Not Jim's money,
out.
it's the park's money.
This isn't Parks money. This is the money that was raised.
Yep. So I'm not the mayor, but I would certainly accept a motion from you.
Well, I'm gonna offer what I just said as a motion. If you need me to repeat it, I certainly will. That we're gonna reject the bids that we've received for construction, authorize city staff to construct the shelter, with the concrete being subbed out to somebody, and we'll have to get multiple quotes for that. But that all material and staff time, as it's been described at $40 per man hour, and I'm not sure how to say that genderless, so I apologize, but will be charged to disc golf donations, and that the project is done as the Public Works schedule allows it to be done, with this caveat that there's adequate money to pay that. So once
Well, I got a-
adequate funds, what we think is enough money to cover this time and material estimate we have of approximately $18,000, once that money is secure, then we could go ahead and proceed. That's my motion.
Do I have a second?
I got a question.
Jim,
also, is
we've got a
that-
motion on the floor, Jim. I'm asking for a second.
I'll second that.
Okay, go ahead, Jim.
Okay, what I was saying is, the Public Works is gonna do this on Public Works time. In their normal schedule, they're gonna fit it in. When we do any other park projects like this is their job. So this is our second biggest park in New Richmond here. So we're asking the Public Works, when they can fit it in, to do the work here. The concrete slab is gonna be separate. That's separate completely. The city's not gonna work on the slab itself, just the construction of the building, of the shelter. So when the shelter is constructed, it'll be when they have time. It's not gonna be like tomorrow, they're gonna spend 120 hours on it. It's when they can have time throughout the summer. So this is a city project. It's a city park. It's gonna be a city shelter where anybody can rent that out like any other shelter. So this is a city project. We can cover the materials and the concrete. The person that's going to do the concrete is going to donate his time. So it's just the staff time to build it, which, like I said, it's going to be in their regular hours. They're not going to be putting in extra hours for this. This is what they're going to be doing just in their time when they can do it.
Jim, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, other than this has not been something that's been in our CIP. It's not been on the comprehensive plan. It's not in this year's budget. So by taking out 120 hours from Public Works time, It's not budgeted this year for that. So if this can be budgeted into next year's park money or park time or public works time, I would be in favor of that, but it's not budgeted for this year.
We're talking about $5,000 to have a shelter constructed. We raised $125,000 for this park. This is, they have tournaments, that type of thing. They have a shelter there where they can register. It's at the first tee box and the 18th pin. So this is important to the disc golf. It's $5,000, which would be spent on their regular time. They're not putting overtime in, only when they can do it. We do other projects which come up. Not everything is cut in stone all the time. That's why we have to be nimble to do different things here. If we're gonna stop this project because of $5,000, when we put $125,000 in this course, not the taxpayers, we raised $125,000. And now we're saying that the staff can do this, and now we say wait until next year for $5,000?
I agree with Jim. It's a park. They're adding on to the park. It's the same as Mary Park. It's the same as Paper Jack Park. It's
Is it the
all
same
these-
as Hatfield Park? Did Public Works pay for the shelter that was built at Hatfield Park 2 years ago? No, they didn't. Remember the one we had Jamin Peterson build?
Yeah.
That came out of your budget in the Parks Department. It didn't come from Public Works. We didn't have them do the work. So why is it any different? That's my frustration. And Mr. Mayor, you talk about the money you raise, and I can speak very personally this because I'm one of the people that wrote a check. You said when this project started, you were going to raise the money lock, stock, and barrel. All right? That's not what you're talking about now. And you're forgetting that the Public Works Department has already put, in terms of man hours, approximately $64,000 in labor to this park out there. I want the park to be successful, but you said you were going to raise the money, all the money. I'm willing to allow the Public Works staff to go ahead and do the work, which is something you asked for, but you have to pay for it. So we didn't do this at Hatfield. We didn't ask city staff to build it. We probably could have saved some money. You know, it's interesting. We only got one bid, and that was after several times of asking for bids, but nobody said, well, let's have the Public Works Department do it, did they? And the Parks Department paid for it. So I don't know why this is any different. We don't have Public Works pay for things that aren't Public Works. It's parks. Yeah, it's part of the city. But just the fact that we're having them do the work, which is something outside of their wheelhouse, but we're going to do it anyhow because it helps the project, I think that's enough. So-
We have people on staff that are capable of doing this? Do you think?
You know, again,
that's
it's
what
not
you said
something that
previously,
we,
is that would-
it's not something that we typically do. You know,
No.
our staff haven't built a shelter. It's not to say that they can't. You know, but certainly it's not going to be at the same speed or the same level.
No, and we don't
of,
need it to
you
be
know,
at a lightning speed. We need it
but
to
for a
get
lot of
done
our
eventually,
staff that
safely.
any previous experience is going to be either outside of work, what they've done, you know, at home, or a previous employer.
Yeah, the city's contributed nothing so far, including the Park Land Trust Fund,
The city's contributed nothing?
city.
$64,000 in labor? That's the accounting I got from the city relative to the time they
That's
spent
their-
out there working on the
They're
land.
working on a park, Mike.
It doesn't matter. What do you said? Nothing. The city did that. When Jim started this project,
Every park in the whole
when
city.
Jim
We could
started
say
this
the same. How much
project,
did we spend on
did
Mary
he
Park?
not say, Craig, that he was going to raise the money for the entire project?
May have said that to you. I don't remember.
Oh,
I
okay.
honestly don't know that.
All right. Well, I'm going to call for the question.
All right, good, thank you. Can you repeat the motion? Good
Of
luck.
course. Alderman Montello made the motion that it's multiple parts. The first is that the concrete needed to be bid back out and brought back. The second is that Public Works would do the work of building the structure as outlined within their own time discretion.
And we're rejecting the
And the
bids.
third
And
part.
rejecting, oh yeah, that was the first part, sorry. Rejecting
then-
all bids presented in the memo.
And material and staff time are charged to disc golf donations, assuming they have adequate money to cover that.
Correct.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Motion carries. Donations. I want to recognize some people tonight for outstanding donations to the city. First is on Fire Prevention Week, we had Beth's Jewelry, Hoft Management Corporation, Johnson Motors, with a total donation of $3,955. Controlled burns, donations were made to the New Richmond Fire and Rescue Department by Claude Bovey and Steve Martin, with the following amounts of $500 and $200. Hatfield Park Concrete, the New Richmond Softball Association is seeking to donate $12,000 toward the replacement of concrete at Hatfield Park. And the library building project, Karen Smallage is donating $50,000 to the library building project. I think that's awesome, and I would like a formal motion to accept these donations.
I'll make a motion that we accept the donations and deep thanks and gratitude for the individuals who and organizations who have put the money forth.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze.
Yes. 8.2, preliminary plat application, Francois Fields.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. The city received a preliminary plat application from Willow River Lakes LLC for a preliminary plat to be known as Francis Fields. This 64-acre property is located south of 64. The proposed subdivision consists of 97 lots, including 25 single-family lots and 72 twin home lots. This application is subject to review by the Development Review Committee, Plan Commission, and City Council. A public hearing was held last Thursday, April 4th at the Plan Commission meeting. The future land use map found in the comprehensive plan guides the site for low-density residential and as a mixed-use corridor. Low-density residential includes predominantly single-family detached subdivisions. The proposed single-family and twin homes are consistent with the future land use map. The parcel has a zoning designation of Z2 suburban district. The proposed single-family and twin homes are allowed uses in Z2 subject to building permit applications. For surrounding uses, to the north and east is agriculture. To the south is the Oak Ridge Estates in Stanton and Mary Park Lake. To the west is the Lakeview Estates, and to the northwest is the Westview Addition in the town of Stanton. The proposed development is compatible with surrounding uses and unlikely to have an adverse impact of the future development of surrounding properties. For lot occupation, the minimum width for single-family lots is 80 feet and 40 feet for twin homes. Additionally, no more than 40% of the lot may be impervious surface. The 97 lots identified in the preliminary plat are consistent with the lot occupation requirements. For streets, if we could scroll down to the plat, please. The plat is accessible by North Shore Drive and Brady Lane, which is down in the southwest corner of the development. There's a 10-foot paved trail along North Shore Drive, and then a 5-foot concrete sidewalk that will go up through the north loop of the development. Construction vehicles can access the property via an existing field access point on Highway 64, and the developer is working with the DOT on a permanent access point to 64. The Director of Public Works has deemed the proposed access is adequate to serve the development and meets the city's requirements. The city also checked in with the police chief and fire chief who reviewed the application and did not have any concerns with the development or the single access point at this time. For park dedication, the applicant has proposed to dedicate Outlot 9 to the city, which is approximately 1.1 acres. The minimum dedication for parks for developments is 10% of the developed acres, which is which would equate to about 2.5 acres of parkland. So the applicant will pay additional park impact fees in addition to the Outlot 9 dedication. For utilities, a primary electric extension will be made from the existing facilities on North Shore Drive at the developer's expense, and a cost share of approximately $545 per unit will be added as a contribution to upgrade to 3-phase due to the load of the development. The applicant also submitted a landscaping plan which is consistent with city requirements. So the Development Review Committee and Plan Commission recommend approval of the preliminary plat application with 12 conditions as presented. I'm available to answer questions, and we also have the developer and engineer here as well.
Ron, I got a question for you. So I've heard it pronounced several ways. Can you tell us for the record, what's the correct way to say this? Okay, it's not. You sound so regal when you do that.
It's Frances. She was my kindergarten teacher.
I'm curious, this map that's up here, so it looks like North Shore Drive is extending around the north edge of the widespread, right? And it comes down, and what happens there? We've had some conversations here in the last couple of years about trying to do something that would have a positive impact on traffic between 64 and K, another way. Yeah. Yep. Few years.
Tie-in for Fox Run.
That's not on the map.
And how long do you have to get that in, that road out to 64?
We are in talks with trying to get meetings going with the DOT. They told us it's gonna take 3 to 6 months. Marketing-wise, we want that road in ASAP.
And is there any reason for you to think that they're not going to approve that? And do I understand right, you have a temporary, or not, I don't know, that's not even right.
It's field access right
Okay,
now.
field access. So one of the concerns that's been expressed to me is by folks, and I get it, who live in that Brady Lane, North Shore Drive area, construction vehicles that will go by there. Is there anything that you can say that would allay their concerns that the construction vehicles, that's really not your intent to use
All of
this
our
access?
construction will come from 64. All the heavy construction.
So when you start building homes, I mean, are we still talking the same thing that you would use that access? And I apologize, I meant to call you today and I just did not have time.
The intent would be that it's not a construction access and we'd sign it that way. Are you gonna get somebody going to lunch to grab something out that way in a pickup truck? Most likely, but we're gonna sign it, no construction traffic.
And
Going south on North Shore Drive.
right, and I obviously, you guys have been around for a long time and great history. I just think that's something that we can do that would give the folks in the neighborhood, it isn't like, hey, there's a pickup truck driving through, you understand. I think the concern is heavy equipment, and what could we do to allay those concerns that it won't be an issue? And I understand you're gonna direct folks, and I also understand that you got probably a fair amount of subs that are building streets, you guys don't do that. So what can we do to give them some peace of mind that it's just not gonna happen? And I'm not talking about the stray truck or somebody going to lunch. That's not what I'm talking about.
Probably can put a weight limit sign on the bottom of that North Shore Drive. That would stop them.
Okay, I just think that's,
Somewhere along.
yeah, I think it's super important for folks that live in the area. It's obviously their world's changing, and we all get that. Everybody gets that. But I think the added burden of, big construction equipment, that's something that I want to see, I'm hoping we can do, and like you suggested, I appreciate that, to put them at a point where they don't have to worry about big trucks, graders, what have you, driving by their homes.
Yeah, we had a neighborhood meeting at the
Yep.
fire department that was well-attended. We had a planning commission meeting that was even more well-attended, and mostly just neighbors around the area. I think Ron and the engineer did a really good job of saying that's not where we're building it from. We're building it from the top down. So I think if we didn't relieve some of those concerns by those people, the place would probably be full again. So planning commission had all those same concerns. When we saw the original plat, nothing was in there. So it's been a concern throughout, and I think and Ron has pretty much assured them, the people at least showed up, that we knew it was an issue, and having access on 64 was a big deal. I mean, there's probably not 100% guarantee that you can do anything, like, but heavy equipment is certainly not gonna go anywhere through the neighborhoods.
Well, and I appreciate the effort that's been put forth. I have no issues with any of this. I think that if we can have an added condition that there'll be some signage, just restricting.
Exception is gonna be,
Yeah. And right away, that's where they're gonna start with the plumbing going up, with the water and sewer going up.
There's nothing you can do about that right now, and I completely get that. But I do think that if we could have a condition added that just says appropriate signage restricting, with the exception of whatever needs to be done right there, but for the project in general, that folks don't have to be concerned that there's heavy stuff going by, and that it's signed accordingly. So.
Would you like to make a motion adding number 13 to our list of?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to make a motion that we approve this preliminary plat application with the 12 conditions, and then adding a 13th condition that just appropriate signage is put up restricting, and I don't really even know what to call it, and I'm sorry, heavy construction equipment, restricting
Put a
them,
weight limit on
using
there.
that as a throughway. And really, it's as you discussed, Ron, so.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Motion's made and second. Any other further discussion? Take the roll, please.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
8.3, final plat, or preliminary plat, final plat application, Fox Run, 5th edition.
This application was submitted by Thone Property Investments for a final plat for Fox Run 5th Edition. This final plat is for 14 single-family lots, which were approved as a part of the Fox Run 4th Edition preliminary plat, which was 52 lots in May of 2022. This addition is located on Otter Way. This final plat is subject to review by the Development Review Committee and City Council. The future land use map guides the site for low-density residential. The proposed single-family homes are consistent with the future land use map. The zoning designation is Z2 suburban district, and the proposed single-family homes are an allowed use subject to building permit applications. The addition is surrounded by single-family homes to the south, east, and west, and agriculture to the north. The proposed development is compatible with surrounding uses and unlikely to have an adverse impact on the future development of surrounding properties. The 14 lots are consistent with the lot occupation, impervious surface, and setback requirements. We do have one condition under streets, that the trail which began in Fox Run 4th shall be extended through this 5th edition and paved. For park dedication, the park land was dedicated as a part of the Fox Run 4th Edition final plat, so no additional parkland dedication or impact fees are required. The applicant submitted revised stormwater plans after the preliminary plat was approved, and the stormwater plans were then approved in January of 2023, so all of the conditions have been met from the preliminary plat. An electric extension will be made from the existing facilities on Otter Way at the developer's expense, and a cost share of approximately $545 will be added as a contribution to upgrade to 3-phase due to the additional load of the development. We received a landscaping plan, which is consistent with our city requirements. So the DRC recommends approval of the final plat with 7 conditions. Aside from the first condition about paving the trail, the rest of the conditions are standard with street lighting, street signage, utilities, construction commencement, the development agreement, and impact fees. Happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Council President, I'm going to offer a motion that we approve this final plat application with the 7 conditions outlined.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Roll, please.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner.
Yes.
8.4, Urban Reserve Area Attachment Application.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Tonight, we're looking at an urban reserve area attachment. As you all know, the boundary agreement between the City of New Richmond and the Town of Star Prairie was signed in 2012. This agreement created a boundary line for an area now known as the Urban Reserved Area. Under this agreement, there are several ways that people can attach to the City of New Richmond. Ben Peterson petitioned for his parcel to be attached to the city. It's approximately 10.245 acres, and it is split by Highway 65. So I think Christie's going to pull that up for us. The parcel qualifies for attachment under Section 3.2 of the boundary agreement. As you can see, the parcel 65, it's kind of going as you're going into Star Prairie. There's a side on the west and a side on the east that's contained in this attachment. The attachment that we're looking at would be under Ordinance 605 tonight for approval. A public hearing was noticed in a Class 2, in the Class 2 paper of the Star Observer on the 14th of March and the 21st of March. Michelle also sent notice to the clerk for the town of Star Prairie. We did receive notice back from that they do not have any objections to this attachment. When we're looking at attachments and annexations, we look at a couple of things. We look at what we're going to zone that as they come in, and we do that with the future land use map. So when looking at the future land use map, this area is designated as an industrial use. So during the possible motion, we would like to see the Z7 industrial use as the zoning designation for these parcels. It's one parcel, but it looks like two for the parcels. We also look at utilities. The closest water and sewer mains are located a little over half a mile south on Highway 65. At this time, per the Director of Public Works, there are no immediate plans to extend utilities further north on Highway 65. The applicant shall have the opportunity to go before the Utility Commission to receive permission to put in services themselves. The application was reviewed by the Development Review Committee and the Planning Commission on April 4th with a recommendation of approval with the Z7 industrial zoning and waiving of the fees as we've done over the past 5 or 6 years for any attachment or annexation process. So the ordinance number there would be 605.
Beth, is there anything with the airport next door? Are there any regulations or anything they have to meet?
They would have the normal regulations of height and those type of things when they come in for, if they come in for an application, correct? Yep.
So at this time, this is just an application to put the
Or
land in.
attachment to the city, correct.
But-
That's
but we-
all we're considering right
But we
now.
will be also zoning at Z7 industrial.
And zoning Z7, waiving of the fees and approving the ordinance.
Is there a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve. Is
there a second?
With the zoning designation of Z7.
So ordinance 605, yep, thanks, Craig.
Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
Well, just, I know that we have had some very light conversations relative to, there's been a lot of discussion about trying to get city water and sewer to the airport. And I just I think it's important that people understand, just because it's a half mile away right now doesn't mean it has to be a half mile away as far as water and sewer. And I do think it's something that needs to be discussed. There seems to be some thought that development, particularly of an industrial nature, could take place north of the city. And obviously, if that ever is going to happen, water and sewer is going to have to be extended. So That's a conversation that needs to be had. I know we're not making a decision on that tonight, but that is a conversation that needs to be had as far as future planning goes, as to what the plan is. Because Craig helped me out here, but didn't I hear in January at the Airport Commission meeting, they would really like to have city water for sure at the airport. So I think the time is upon us to start having those discussions.
Mostly for fire suppression. It's not so much bathrooms or convenience, it's mostly for fire prevention or fire suppression. Some of the buildings that they have been proposed in the past had no capability of going up there because they were too big and they couldn't have water.
They gotta be sprinkled.
You
Gotta be
couldn't
sprinkled.
sprinkle it. So, yeah, it's a big deal. We don't know where or how it's gonna come in the easiest way. So to have it here would be beneficial. I know that's not what we're doing today. We're just doing the annexation, but yeah, it could be very prosperous for the airport in the long run to have some employees and main businesses up there that would employ a couple hundred people at some of these places, so.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is it's a conversation we need to have, and you're right,
Yeah.
it doesn't,
And the long-range plan with the FAA that we're working on right now, that we're currently working on, that's gonna be a big part of that, is they're currently working on it now, because we've given them feedback as a commission and as a long-range planning committee that we think that's important, and they do too. The FAA thinks that's important also, so they're working on all kinds of different ways to do it, and best practices, and best routes, and cheapest, and grants. So, yeah, it's something we need to do.
I couldn't agree with you more, Craig and Mike, and I think as chair of the utility committee, I think maybe that's a good place for us to begin this discussion about whether, when we bring properties in and they've not yet made an application for any wells or septics, but we might have to have something in there that when sewer and water comes by their place, they must hook up to those portion for those hookups when we come by. I think it's a
Worthy
great
of talking
discussion and
about.
topic. Pardon?
it's worthy of talking about.
Yep. We have any other discussion?
Yeah, Beth, I got a question I should have brought up at planning. I'm sorry I didn't. The property on the west side of 65, that's going to be annexed. Any plans there, any utility plans there, I don't know
Not that
exactly how
we're-
much is left?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So they wouldn't need water or anything on the other side of 65 either?
Not that I'm aware of.
They just want to annex it right now?
Correct.
Do you have any idea how much that is? How much property that is?
Don't, but I think KIP is their engineering firm. Is that what you're looking at?
3.5? Okay. That's quite a bit,
Sorry, I didn't know you were looking for the amount. Yeah.
yeah.
Anything else? We have a motion on the floor. Take the roll, please.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Freeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Gartner?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Motion passes. 8.5, certified survey map application, Four Seasons Land Survey.
Four Seasons Land Surveying LLC submitted a certified survey map application on behalf of Robin Hafner and Jerry Clausen for 2 parcels southeast of the intersection of 140th Street and County Highway K. The proposed subdivision would result in new boundaries for a total of 3 parcels. This application is subject to review by the Development Review Committee, Plan Commission, and City Council. The future land use map guides the site for medium-high density residential. The CSM is consistent as no additional development is proposed at this time with the CSM. The zoning designation is Z2 suburban district. And again, the CSM is consistent as no additional development is proposed. For surrounding uses to the north and east, while on all sides is single-family homes. To the south is the Meadow Crossing development, and to the west is Rich River Trails. The CSM is compatible with surrounding uses and unlikely to have an adverse impact on the future development of surrounding properties. For access, there is an existing driveway on Lot 1, which provides access to 140th Street. There are also 2 additional driveways on County Highway K, which will serve proposed Lot 2 and 3. Both of the driveways on County K have existing driveway permits from St. Croix County. For drainage and utility easements, the proposed easements on the CSM are consistent with city requirements. We have a note or condition that there is an existing drainage and utility easement on proposed Lot 2, which was formerly on the lot line, and so if the applicant intends to build over the easement, it should be vacated. For utilities, if we could pull up the utility map, please. So the map that you're seeing on the screen is our existing water and sewer mains. The red shape is the parcels that are in discussion this evening. So there is currently water that runs along County Highway K and in the blue and along 140th Street. And then the nearest sewer is up in Fox Run. And then there's also sewer in Rich River Trails. The existing house on Lot 1 is served by a private well and septic system. There's no sanitary that would be close enough to serve that house. And so we have as a condition that the existing house on Lot 1 shall connect to city sewer when it is made available as a part of future development and prior to the issuance of building permits related to the developments on Lot 2 and 3. And then water is currently available to serve all 3 of the lots. A water main is already stubbed on 140th Street to the right-of-way for Lot 1. So we have a condition that the existing house on Lot 1 shall connect to city water prior to the issuance of building permits related to the development of Lot 2 and 3. Future developments of Lot 2 and 3 will be required to be served by municipal services, and the cost to connect will be at the developer's expense. And then prior to the developments of Lot 2 and 3, the developer should also contact the electric superintendent to discuss electric options, as the existing house on Lot 1 is currently being served by a different electric provider. The DRC and Plan Commission recommend approval of the certified survey map with 5 conditions. And as a note, the condition language has been updated per request after the Plan Commission, with the biggest change being that the 3rd condition about the timeline relating to connecting to city water. It was initially at Plan Commission that they had to connect now, and now the condition has been updated to prior to issuance of building permits related to the development of Lot 2 and 3.
That was
Like-
a recommendation by the Plan Commission?
That was
Nope.
changed.
That was changed after the Plan Commission.
I'd make a motion to approve with the 1 through 5 conditions.
Is there a second? Is
Second that motion?
there any discussion? I guess my question is, why was there a change made after the Plan Commission?
So I think for that 3rd point, I think, regarding the water connection, I think the intention for the Plan Commission was that they should still, I think it's rewording that 3rd one. I think the intention was that they'd connect because it is available,
Right.
but just making it clear that if building permit, like if someone wanted to build a house or build buildings on lots 2 and 3, to make sure that those are also connecting.
At that point.
I think we can clarify that language to make sure we're reflecting that intention.
Yep.
Any other questions or any discussion? Call for the motion, please.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier, Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Abstain.
Motion carries. 8.6, Mary Park entrance sign update.
So just an update on this one. We've been getting updated quotes for the reconstruction of the entrance sign to Mary Park. We'd previously received quotes back in the fall. If you recall, the structure was hit in the summer during Fun Fest. Before we entered the winter season, staff took down the east pillar just so that it wasn't tipping over, any other damage over the winter months. So we're in the process of updating those quotes. We did go through the insurance claim process. The insurance claim was a little over $52,000. We have heard back so far from one of the companies with their updated quote. If you recall, at the time, we had a lot of different options we were throwing at them about, and they didn't know if they would have to take it down and start over. Could they repurpose some of the material? So we have received updated pricing from one of the groups. We were hoping to hear back from the others before tonight. If the council is comfortable with it, we would actually bring our final numbers either at our work session or even potentially our sign die meeting here this month, just so that we're not just basing it off of just one quote. And we would hope that the work could potentially be completed before Park Art Fair in June. So we'd still like to bring it forward to you here in April, but haven't heard it from updated numbers, and we don't want to just base it off of numbers from September, October time. But happy to answer any questions that the council might have on it, but something that staff we'd bring forward at either at our work session or potentially even our sign die for next week.
The insurance claim proceeds, you have an estimate? I mean, obviously, something must have been done to determine the amount of damage. And is the money there to reconstruct the whole thing?
So that claim was based on some of the estimates that we received. So we do anticipate that the claim will cover the full amount.
So no motion
action
needed
needed.
on
No
that.
action needed tonight. No.
Thank you. 8.7, authorization to bid automated GPS mower and field striper.
So these were two capital items that were included in the 2024 capital improvement plan. They were discussed last week by the Public Works Committee, which some of you serve on, and staff would be looking to demo the products and bring back some quotes at a future meeting. So at this time, it would just be seeking authorization to go out, demo some of these, bring back pricing on both.
I'll make that motion.
For a second.
Second the motion.
Discussion, questions? Call for the roll call.
Alderman Vries,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Is there any communication, miscellaneous? Michelle, you have something for us?
I got nothing.
Oh.
Except a thank you to the election workers who did a fantastic job this week, and thanks for everyone who came out and voted.
I just want to express, there was a fundraiser out at Ready Randy's on Saturday night for a number of things, law enforcement related. The law enforcement, and help me out, Chief, Officers Memorial to be built in Hudson. I saw a rendering of that, and it's very, very nice looking. To send a contingent from the Sheriff's Department out to Washington DC. I assume it's just from the Sheriff's Department out to Washington DC, taking some gear out there as part of National Law Enforcement Week, I think, and there's a memorial out there. And some of you may know that they announced Saturday night that the governor has signed a bill that I think Senator Staffschul introduced to rename a portion of Highway 128 in Glenwood City, Lysing, or Katy Lysing. I guess I'm not sure how it's going to be, but that it will have that designation. And they had a great turnout, and I don't know the number, but they were looking to raise, and have been since this project started last summer, to raise a substantial amount of money, and I think they're well on their way to getting where they need to be.
Yeah, I haven't heard the final numbers. I heard the event went very well, but there's one other aspect to that. There's the memorial in Hudson, sending people out to
DC.
to DC for when they put Deputy Lysing's name on the law enforcement memorial wall, and then also mental health and some crisis intervention training for all law enforcement in St. Croix County. Not just the Sheriff's Department. So those are the three initiatives that they're raising funds for. So
Thank you.
very good.
Thank you for bringing that up, Mike. Anyone else? I'll look for a motion to go into closed session per Wisconsin statutes 19.851D, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require closed session.
I move that we go into closed session.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Vries.
Yes.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
Get something for him to say.
We're going to take a 3-minute break.
3 months.